Greetings, nerds and newcomers. This is Austin Alesso back here on the D&D Help Desk, day number 3. Hope everyone's doing okay today. Once again, we're starting off on Reddit. I feel like we have a pretty well-viewed one. Game Academy once again. So, let's get back into it. Game Academy by Woodland Squirrels. Ruminations on DMing. Constant fun isn't the end-all be-all, offering advice. 9 hours ago. Let's see. Okay, hold on. Before you get your pitchforks and go, Woodland Squirrels is a big old fun-hating meanie. Hear me out for a second. I promise you two things. The title isn't just clickbait, and that I suspect you can agree with me by the end of the post, at least on some level. Challenge accepted. So, during the past week, this episode had several discussions that tend to advocate various things in the name of fun, not stunning players for long with their turn, asking players they want to die, simple posts. Another highly voted advice I've seen has included some things like don't use monsters that are immune to damage someone the party likes to deal, and players should never get a negative consequence for a choice based on role-playing their character. It's an idea I'd like to offer some pushback on. To be clear, I don't think all these are terrible ideas. Definitely discuss the desired level of lethality when your players listen to 0. I feel like there's been some omission from the conversation. Here we are, with me trying to address that. Titled Bout of the Century, Fun versus Engagement. Fun is a term used as problematic in game design as a whole for a long time. Everyone loves fun. Fun when games are fun, but wait. Why are games like Dark Souls so acclaimed and widely enjoyed? Why is Last of Us so sad? Why does Wingspan, the board game card game, let other players discourage others from playing the cards they want to play? None of these things are fun things per se. I've played all the Souls games, and rarely have I thought of after dying, well, that was a fun death. I'm not actively having fun when I see characters I love go through tragic situations. When I have a darn blue grosbeak in my hand, I cannot play it to benefit my opponent rather than win 2 to the they just played. I'm not smiling, laughing, enjoying the fun of it. Thanks for the better term that most game designers settle on, engagement. The game doesn't need to be fun all the times, or even necessarily ever, but it does need to be engaging time. It is not a simple semantics point either. Fun is a form of engagement, or rather a response to it. Not all forms of engagement are fun. Sometimes inflicting negative emotions through storytelling or design can have a negative effect on fun. Surprisingly, I don't enjoy watching my favorite characters die in fiction, but a positive impact on the experience as a whole, to increase engagement as an example. Therefore, you shouldn't always treat an experience that is not fun in the moment as something that is detrimental to the experience as a whole. Alright, I like it so far. Fun isn't a zero-sum game. Fun coins multiply sometimes. I assume that's supposed to be functions? Points? One other thing that we can look at are games with multiple participants. Someone in such a game is having fun, it might not translate into equal fun for everyone else. Oh boy, thinking Magic the Gathering, one of those blue tap builds, Hugo builds, counter everything. Heck, you might even be having fun directly at the expense of someone else. Multiplayer online battle, arena, or MOBA games are a good example of this. In games, another player may be either on your team or on a team opposing you, be doing something that directly hinders your preferred playstyle or strategy. You can actively diminish your experience as a player, you can accomplish what you want to do, the actions of others. However, in a game with multiple participants, it's not always about the single player. What isn't always a positive to a single player can be positive to all other players, and perhaps even to a higher degree. It might be not so fun for a single player, might turn actively enrich the game as a whole, and the experience of everyone else participating in the game. This should be a familiar concept to everyone playing D&D. When other players having a scene that isn't so important to you, you don't interrupt them. There you go. That's correct. You don't burst in and hog the spotlight screaming, "Hey everybody, this is about me now." Let other people have their moment, and you enjoy the fiction itself even if it does not directly involve you as an active participant. Similarly, your moments should not be all about you either. You should always try to make things interesting for other people and look for ways to allow other players to interact with things that are relevant to your character. However, and this is largely a commonplace code of conduct for D&D, why does everyone seem to suddenly forget about it when it comes to combat? For example, being paralyzed and being in mortal danger, or being unconscious, or even dying is not necessarily fun for you. But boy, does it raise the stakes. Does it create tension? And boy, does it make all the situations that much stickier for your allies. You should be able to enjoy all of that. If you don't, you should at the very least be able to let other people have their enjoyment. The negative situation that you encounter can contribute to the experience of other people playing the game with you. What's important is that the potential negative a player encounters isn't so huge that they simply disengage from the game entirely. This is what often happens with sudden, unexpected instant death effects of D&D. It has the effect of being unable to act for a while. I don't know how anyone gets through a single session of D&D when often players' characters have scenes that do not involve all players. A player's enjoyment of something is not a static value. Final thing I'd like to bring up is the idea that fun now is not the same thing as fun later. What I mean is that which may feel frustrating, agitating, or annoying at the present moment, you may not feel the same about later. I've had player characters that failed at things in absolute miserable ways that I felt quite bad about at the time, but later on contribute to a much richer story for my character and to a much better experience about the campaign for myself. In the role of a GM, I've TPK'd a party that I felt quite bad about at the time. The players felt dejected about as well, but over time it became a cherished memory for me and the players that I socialized with. I'm not advocating for that you abuse your players and tell them they'll thank you later. Some experiences need time to ferment, to mature, to blossom. While they may be something you do not like in the moment, they may turn out to be things you couldn't think you'd want to have gone any other way later down the line. Kinda. That's tenuous waters here. When we consider only the enjoyment of the present moment and attempt to eradicate all negative experience under that banner, I think we're robbing ourselves of something more, of richer experiences that gain a flavor otherwise unobtainable. It's fine to play any kind of campaign you want. Sometimes you don't want to deal with negativity or hardship. Having patience, holistic outlook is crucial to getting those kinds of amazing tabletop experiences you read, watch, or heard about before joining the hop yourself. It was way too long. I didn't read it. OP. Word Ponce. Summarize it for me. Every experience that have their place, little experience that have their place. Sometimes things that are not super fun for you or an individual player make you the experience or table as a whole. Do not abuse your players for greater good. Do not heap punishment on them or just expect them to deal with everything. Do not absolve yourself of the responsibility to try and make a game that everyone can enjoy. But do not always shun the entire spice rack. There are the whole host of things that are not fun in the moment either. Those spices can contribute to magical moments and great stories. Sometimes they take time to stew and emerge as something greater. Sometimes they may not emerge at all and flop entirely. But overt obsession with everything being fun all the time will make your game not be able to reach all the heights the medium of the tabletop role-playing game is capable of. Sometimes final to let fun take a backseat for a moment. I think I would go ahead and I think I would agree with this post overall. I will say about not knowing well, maybe something you don't like in the moment that may turn out to be things you couldn't think you'd want to have gone any other way later down the line. I think with the noblest of intentions, I think that's true. But that's a very slippery slope of logic there that can be applied in a lot of detrimental or even logical fallacy-induced ways. I don't think that logic checks out in the wide variety of circles. Alright, so it is Woodland Squirrel to see if they posted anything below to clarify. Or is it just everyone else chiming in? No. I'm going to guess that considering there's some negatives and a bunch of ones, there is a lot of devolving here. The statement players should never get a negative consequence for a choice based on playing their character. First search I've ever heard. This sense. Yeah, they've not clarified on anything here. So um I would say this right here does have some fault. I would say this is entirely dependent on why the individual plays D&D to begin with. If they want their D&D to be fun all the time, they're in for a rough experience, especially with some creatures that are more or less saber suck oriented and certain consequences. Either just TPK or just dying outright. But I think for a healthy balance, this is true, but it's wholeheartedly dependent upon the reason the player plays the game. Perhaps they just want their D&D to completely be all fun, not a lot of consequence. Stark contrast to what most people want. If that's the way they want to play, then by all means they can play it that way. You need to find a DM willing to offer, and I think DM that play style and characters and other players who are willing to play in that game with essentially diminished stakes. Hmm. This is definitely a pretty well thought out post, period. I would say the large crux of the issue is entirely dependent upon the buy in and the reason that the player plays D&D, period. This is definitely the minority, but some people want to play D&D with maximized fun, consequently having diminished returns and risk as a result. Period. And while they are in the minority here, if that's the way they want to play, then so be it. Their fun isn't wrong. Period. They just need to find a DM willing to DM in that style and find other players who seek the same sort of experience. Period. Although it's not traditional, some players want the game to be more of a game than a role play experience of highs and lows. Period. I formatted it some way. Don't remember how to format it. Nope, I'm not remember the formatting here. I gotta relearn some of this. Um, I'm just gonna put got the mark down for reference OP. My critique on this would be that the potential enjoyment is dependent upon a positive resolution. Period. I imagine there are a lot of individuals with RPG horror story like experiences that did not have fun and never will from those experiences. Period. Sometimes bad experiences are just that. Period. And while some people will shy away from that, I think we as DMs need to understand why those bad experiences are there in the first place and what we are going to do about them. Period. All right. Okay. Take on this within RPG. I can specify critique within RPG. In RPG settings and stakes. Potential enjoyment is dependent upon positive resolution. Imagine there are a lot of individual war stories, like experiences that do not have fun and never will from those. Sometimes bad experience are just that. Some people will shy away from that. I think where there's in the first place, what we're going to do. If a pretty well post, I would say that large crux of the issue is hard dependent upon the buy-in, reason that the player plays. It's definitely the minority. Some people want to play D&D with fun, consequently having diminished returns and risk result. While they are in the minority here, if that's the way they want to play, then their fun isn't wrong. They just need to find a DM willing to DM in that style, and other players who same sort of experience. Also, it's not traditional, but some players want the game to be more of a game than a role-playing experience of highs and lows. That post overall. Okay, really hitting the controversy post pretty early here. All right, by Rat Squirt. D&D next. DM took away a level from a player as a punishment. Not sure how to respond. Hi all, I'm a reasonably new player playing my second group. You guys all know each other really well and even trying to set up a podcast, which is sort of iffy, but that's besides the point. I guess that's to put how familial they are with each other. Okay. In the previous session, one of the characters tried to investigate something on their own. Got kidnapped by a cult that drains magic with sleep. No saving roll. Okay. Questionable. In this session, we rescued them, meaning that they didn't get to play at all until the very end, at which point it revealed us that they lost a level. Okay, sitting out a whole session isn't the most fun thing. Let's talk to them at a time. And are now down to level 2. Oh no, they go from 3 to 2, that's huge. With all of us starting at level 3. Wow. Hopefully they're in on it. While I know I'm brand new and not fully comfortable approaching the DM yet, I'm mostly looking for validation as well as advice on how to move forward. DM struggles with improv stuff and isn't great at letting us guide ourselves. There's 2 DM PCs that are with us, both of whom are in conversations and combat often. But I don't want to be a dick and either leave immediately or talk to her about her style soon after joining. Okay. Anyways, thanks for the help, much obliged. Oof. One paragraph, there's a whole lot going on here. Oh man. So, bad things that I see or potential problems. No saving roll. Seems really powerful. It seems like this is almost something that should happen to an NPC, not a PC, right? They get their like magic drained with sleep. You have to go rescue them. You know, there's no saving roll because it's plot device stuff. But the fact that a player character had to sit out a whole session, now they lost a level, which I assume wasn't talked about ahead of time. And then there's also 2 DMPCs in the party who I don't know are there for potentially just a module +1 or just DM wants to have player characters play as well. We don't know how the individual feels that was leveled down though. They could be in on it. Let's see if they replied to anybody and put any extra information here. It is a better picture. So that's what I'm worried about. Got a new table. That's a really good point. They're having fun, but I'm not great at telling that sort of stuff. The character got under level was a bad one though. That girl that made them bad on purpose, which I don't fully understand. Another reason it annoyed me was the precedent setting. Yeah, the DMPCs are really annoying me, mostly because a lot of the plot is focused around them, and since we're prisoners, they gave us brand of loyalty, which mean that they can instantly kill us if either they die or we act out of line. Okay. You might be right in leaving, but you have to find me with the group, and I don't want to make it awkward for her since they're friends and all. Branding your PCs that they can railroad you under threat of death, yeah, that's ooh boy. That's not good. So, um okay, can we learn anything else? That's a real important notification there. Darn, I forgot their name. Got squirt. Any discussion about level drop or anything, and I'm not sure if it's a one-off scenario. Maybe there's like a tome of XP in there, so they lose it for that and they get it back. Maybe. There's also been any discussion how to fix it. It's more just, hey, this person's back. They seem drained from the kidnapping. Hey, X, you lose level from your wizard. One of the biggest problems for me with the DMPC is that they also have, it's a big party with 6 players. So I'm not sure whether there need to be 2 more characters in combat other than, yeah, story reasons. Okay. Boy. So I think we, with that known, can make a pretty informed decision here. Boy, this is oh boy, this is a mess. Period. It almost seems to me, the way you describe it, that the DM's plot fits more of an NPC than a PC, period. There is key information here not given, which is important, and that is how the player who lost the level is feeling. Period. From this post and some of your replies down below, it seems to me that this wasn't planned. Period. However, I can't say that for sure, and maybe, giving the benefit of the doubt to the Dungeon Master, this was planned out, and it may be reversed with a tome of experience or something. Period. Um, the two DMPCs that you mention, and even later refer to down below in some replies, having the ability to insta-kill you with a brand is a huge red flag. Period. Like Island Nation of Japan, big red flag. Period. Or actually, it's white with a dot. I suppose China's on. Whoop. To limit China. Like Nation of China flag. Big red flag. Perhaps this DM is just trying to aggressively somewhat railroad or keep things confined for the temporary, and things may get better. Period. But I see it as you having two options. Period. Number one, talk to the DM about your grievances with the campaign so far and the issues that you don't like and are limiting your experience. Period. Once you have this talk, number two is to either remain and see how things go, give the DM maybe a chance to do what they say they'll do. Period. Or better yet, and unfortunately, the more likely scenario is you'll probably just need to move on from this game. Period. Oh boy, this is a mess. It almost seems to me that the way you describe it, that the DM's plot, it's more of an PC than an NPC. PC. This is key information. There is key information here not given. It's important, and that is information missing here from this post. That out. is important. And that is how the player who lost the level is feeling. In this post and some of your replies down below, it seems to me that this wasn't planned. However, I can't say that for sure, and maybe giving the benefit of the doubt to the dungeon master, this was planned out and it may be reversed with a demo experience or something. What is this? Was the two DMPCs that you mentioned, and even later referred to down below, some replies, having the ability to insta-kill you with a brand is a huge red flag, like Nation of China flag, big red. Perhaps the DM is just trying to aggressively somewhat railroad or keep things confined for the temporary story and region. I'll say these things may get better, but I see it as you having two options. However, again, all probably. However, I see it as you having two options. Number one, talk to the DM about your grievances with the campaign so far, and the issues that you don't like that are limiting your experience. Once you have this talk, number two is to either remain and see how things go, and give the DM a chance to do what they say they'll do. Assuming, of course, they are willing to change or even validate your or better yet, unfortunately, better yet, and unfortunately, the more likely scenario is, or you are probably just going to need to move on from this game. They are breaking a lot of the social contract here, knowingly or not. Edge. And I think that's my opinion of it. Boy, it's only been a little over half an hour for two questions. Breakneck pace. These big ol' issues. See, well, that's not that. Yeah, like they said, how do they react? I don't know. Don't know the other player state that could be in on it. Be kind of a neat little thing that was mentioned ahead of time to the player, and they're both in on the joke, and the other players aren't, and there's tension there, and Alright, extra attack feature question. Hi everybody, by Boot Leather on D&D Next subreddit. So I know that the extra attack from the extra attack feature does not stack. I was curious about the interaction specifically between the Bladesong Wizard and the fighter's extra attack feature. The extra attack feature for the Bladesong Wizard indicates that you can use a cantrip in place of an extra attack. If I take enough levels in Fighter to qualify for Fighter's third attack, I'm able to make an attack and cast 2 cantrips. Ah. Had not heard of this one. Thing. Let's see what we got here. Bleed Song Bard, right? The Wizard. Yeah, Wizard. I'm thinking Bard. Blade Song. Blade Singing. And we will pop this out. See it. One of these. That one, right? Okay. Things just pop out window. Shift. That does not have a pop out window for it. I'm too zoomed in. Let's hold up here. We'll just move on and I'll just talk about it. And held again. Extra attack feature for the lead song. Extra attack. Starting at 6th level, you can attack twice instead of once whenever you take the attack action on your turn. Moreover, you can cast one of your cantrips in place of one of his attacks. And if we go to specifically the fighter, what is he? I feel like it's a no because this is a one-time thing when you take the attack action. I need a refresher here. Again, at 5th level, you can attack twice instead of once whenever you take the attack action on your turn. Number of attacks increased to 3. Yeah, so you only take one attack action, but it increases the number of attacks you can do. Whereas with the wizard, whenever you take the attack action on your turn, you can cast one. You can only take the attack action on your turn once. The extra attack feature allows you to make additional attacks. The answer would be no. Let's see if they post anything else. Really up to the DM, but raw, it is a no. This person right here pretty much put it. Cast one cantrip in place of one of those attacks. Not you can cast cantrip instead of making it. I don't see where they post to any. In short, raw says no. Raw says no. Do extra cantrips per attack. that over and cast cantrips and attacks. I probably need to put the other part in. One of your cantrips in place of one of those. Oh, that's important. We'll have already answered it, but stuff in here. You'll have some markdown here, apparently. You are simply choosing as your action on your turn to make the attack action. Period. The extra attack feature grants you extra attacks for taking the attack action. Period. Since you can only do this as an action effectively once per turn, period, you only get to substitute one attack as a cantrip. Period. I feel like there's more succinct ways to put that, but that's kind of the gist. Cantrips. Cantrips is a word. Starting at 6th level, you can attack twice at once whenever you take a turn. Moreover, you can cast one of your cantrip placements. Choosing as action. Extra attack. Extra attacks. Attack. Feature grants you extra attacks for taking the attack action. You only do this as an action essentially. Essentially once per turn. Including what is it? Action search. And actually they're wizards. So. Turn. I get to attack. Ultimately, up to the DM. All. Okay. I'm gonna put also the choosing of the extra attack class feature that others have said in further detail. Yeah, but other people seem to have it covered. Good enough. Ooh. That's actually really good. They don't have much of the balcony though. Kind of be a balcony right here leading up. Or this is a reimagined one. Not bad though. The longest cutscene you've gotten away with. Don't remove alignment. Boy. Discussion. It just saddens me. Posted by Alison Tar. Wizard. It just saddens me that alignment is slowly dying. I mean, for DMs, alignment is such a simple and effective tool that can quickly help you understand a creature's way of thinking in just words. I first started in D&D reading the player's handbook. The alignment system was great, but apparently there are people who think of alignment as a crude generalization. The problem is my opinions on the alignment system. Some people don't get it too well. Alignment is not meant for you to use it as set in stone, just as any other rule in the game. It's meant to use as a guideline. Lawful good character can do evil stuff. Chaotic evil character might do good stuff. But most of the time, they'll do whatever their alignment indicates. The alignment someone can shift, can bend it, can change. It's not a limit, it's just an outline. A lot of people don't like alignment on races. That's not so realistic to say that all orcs and drow are evil. In my opinion, the problem also lies with the reader here. When they say drow are evil, they don't mean that baby drow are born with a natural instinct to stab you on the stomach. It means that their culture is aligned toward evil. An individual is born as a blank slate for the most part, but someone born in a prison more than likely to adopt the personality of the prisoner. The drow orc societies must worship law and group respectively, both chaotic evil gods are most bound to be evil. Again, no one born with an alignment, but their culture might shape it. Sure, there are exceptions, but that's exception that is realistic. It actually depends. For some of the earlier adaptations of Grooms, orcs didn't have free will. So not entirely correct there. And not all creations by their patron deity is going to be given free will. A good example of that is going to more or less be the extra planar area of pure law, ruled by the Mudron god. Oh, come on, brain. Wow, I gotta look this up. I'm drawing a big blank here. Primus, of course. Mechanus. Yeah, Primus. Name? They do not have free will. Not entirely correct there. What is most of my mind about all this changes it would bring to the cosmology. That is a very important, prominent point with the issue of removing alignment. Celestial, Mozrom, devils, and demons are all embodiments of different parts of the alignment chart. That means that they are not just a gameplay mechanic, and that lord their different philosophies. Powerful, they can actually shape the multiverse. They're going to pull a 4E and change it again. For grounds, they're going to separate them. Either way, anyone doesn't feel comfortable with alignment, they could just ignore it. It's better to have a tool for those who want to use it and they're free to use it, not have it entirely, so not use it. Free to disagree, I'm going to speak my mind here. I personally love the alignment system. However, it makes it easier for DMs. That's what's a staple for D&D and how it impacts the lore. And where it would create sides to dispute like done with it, they apparently did on Candlekeep Mystery. Had not seen that here. Who doesn't have the book? Some adventurers in the book use alignment, some don't. The best recent change they made, in my point of view, is including proficiency bonus in the stat block of the creature. Now you don't have to solve a little puzzle to figure it out. Huh. Yes, this person is going to make my point for me. They're descriptive, not prescriptive. Yep. Um, right. Two people arguing. Yeah, it's fine. At 60, it's not like the Lord Modron Society is just not going. Da, da, da. All right, we're discuss on that. Don't remove alignment. Curious. That person. Modrons have free will. Always thought, well, they didn't. Primus in the giant form. His hands are masked. Primus speaks Modron tongue. Primus lesser deity, the clockwork nirvana of Mechanist, and the ruler entire Modron realm. Regulus are in one in thought and deed. Prime and Soul concerned for the Modrons. Worry. Die. Okay. Too deep. Um, of D&D, alignment has changed dramatically. Please, of D&D, of of D&D, alignment has shifted dramatically. Period. It's gone from having massive gameplay implications and effects on character creation and even class abilities or even spell effects. Period. To mostly being a descriptive something of personality and action. Period. As long as the alignment is descriptive and not prescriptive, it serves as a simple tool for understanding the character's motivation. Typically. Period. It's gone from having massive gameplay. Word, it's fine. Spell effects. Mostly being descriptive. A description of personality and action. As long as the alignment is descriptive and not prescriptive, it serves as a simple tool for understanding the character's motivation. Typically. As D&D has gone through many iterations of editions, as D&D has gone through many iterations and editions, it has also gone through many cultural changes. Period. The motivations of yesteryear are fading for the most part for the more popular motivations of today, for better or worse. Period. And while alignment doesn't serve a great deal of purpose anymore in the eyes of most, or even mechanically, save a few things, I think it is still an important part of the legacy of the game and still has its uses. Period. Additions. Worse. In response to your third paragraph, why this is true for the majority of things, it is not entirely accurate. Period. Alignment doesn't describe default morality, the majority of things. Not all things created have free will by their creator. Period. Some species or races are devoid of such and are bound to their creator's will. Period. Uh, um, I believe the orcs under Grumsh to be canonically devoid of free will. Which, for most people, does not sit right ethically or morally. But once again, you're dealing with the fantasy reality of the effects of deities upon societies and culture. Okay. Which, for most people, does not sit right ethically or morally. But once again, you're dealing with the fantasy reality of the effects of deities upon societies and culture. In your fourth paragraph about it literally affecting cosmology, I agree. Period. Removing alignment would open up a can of worms of what it means to be a devil, a demon, a celestial, etc. Devil. Again. A demon, comma, etc. Period. Etc. Um, Wizards of the Coast's decision to add or remove things as they see fit will always be their prerogative. Period. I think they'll leave it in as far as a cultural relic. Period. D&D is full of those such things, and it is in essence one of its most widely implemented traditions across editions. Period. But then again, they may just scrap it under social pressure or just leave it as a husk of its former self untouched and unmentioned in later editions. Okay. Okay. It's zoned out here. The coast wizards of the coast decision to add or remove things they fit. Post. Prerogative. I think that's good enough. I think that's all I want to say here. Oh, void of. They spell Grumpsh. Dictionary. Done. Comment. Alright, that is paragraphs. But yes, I agree. Living alignment may not be the most applicable thing, but I like it, and I think it probably should stay. Alright, with that, I think I'm gonna go ahead and I'll break and be back with a bit more energy and less getting focused into everything. All right, we are back. Got a bit more energy in me. Let's get going. D&D Puzzle Room. 5e is really good for running dungeons, believe it or not. Oh boy, 406 votes, but 189 comments. Boy. All right, Barney Phantom. I guess we're biting. Hard mode today. Let's go. D&D next. 5e is really good for running dungeons. Believe it or not. Discussion. You're part of the new age of D&D, like I am. You probably got introduced to Dungeons and Dragons, like I did. Critical Role, Stranger Things, etc. In these cases, D&D is represented as a cooperative storytelling medium where you and your friends play complicated pretend. That's a more or less a simplistic way to put it. Sure. Particularly in the Critical Role case, there's a lot of interpersonal drama, investigation, theory crafting, etc. This is fine, of course, but a lot of the mechanical things that people complain about the 5e at least seem to come from the fact that the original purpose of 5e is to do dungeon crawls and hex exploration. I hope that's not the crux of their argument. It is a bit more than that. Thief Rogue, for example, is almost exclusively spec for dungeon exploration, and Ranger becomes a must-have. Wait, Thief Rogue. Typically, you just say Rogue, not Thief Rogue in 5e. Thief was the original AD&D. Beside the point of semantics, and Ranger, capitalized, becomes a must-have if you're planning on doing something like Tomb of Horrors, where you need to find and get to the hillside in the first place to begin the dungeon. Of course, the expectation of what D&D is has definitely shifted since then, becoming more of a catch-all TTRPG, but I know the core rules shine the most when applied to actual dungeon crawl. Ooh, oh boy. This is I feel like this is just all over the place. I feel like this is not a very concise or well thought out post. I feel like it's overarching on its exaggerations. Like a ranger becomes a must have. These are exclusively spec for dungeon exploration. I don't think they've introduced enough content to support their thesis here. Dungeon crawls being important. They put their thesis at the end of the paragraph. Um, Everyone guessed Dungeons and Dragons is good for running dungeons. Right, Tio said. In all seriousness, somehow become an ignored aspect of the game by many DMs. Playing since 3E, and I don't think I fought more than a single dragon in those 20 years. Uh, um, wow, really? That's sad. Post anything? I was partially kidding. Thank you for the very clear and concise description. Oof, yes and no. You make a great point. Thanks Comfortable, learn new systems. If you look at the rules in Mechanics 5e, you get a heroic fantasy tactical combat simulator focused on simplicity that rewards players for killing monsters, taking their loot. It is balanced around several encounters per day, so certainly best done in dungeons. True. I'm not gonna spend too much time on this post. Oh boy. So, what do I want to say about this? 5e is really good for running dungeons. Hmm. Um, I feel that this post begins to ramble and doesn't have enough supporting of its thesis at the end of the paragraph here. Period. That being said, I do think 5e does do dungeon crawls well and even hex exploration. But what it does better than both of those things is simplify the rules for new players. Period. Granted, this has led to a reduction in some areas, and a lot of veteran players are not as keen on some of the simplistic aspects. But at the very least, it does expand upon a lot of world building, role playing, and even exploration rules that were sorely missing from iterations past. Period. That I do think 5e does do dungeon crawls well, and even exploration, not exploration. Exploration. But what it does better than both of these things is simplify the rules for new players. Granted, this led to a reduction in some areas, and a lot of veteran players and is keen on some simplistic aspects. At the very least, it does expand upon a lot of world building, role playing, and even exploration rules that are sorely missing from the past. This post have enough supporting arguments or assertions of its thesis at the end of the paragraph here. I don't want to be too harsh, but it does ramble a bit. Actually, it's kind of short for rambling here. Yeah, man, I think this is pretty much it. I'm gonna kind of disagree here. This part. Going to slightly agree, but slightly pivot. I don't know. We'll just leave that one as it is. Move on from that one. Two Streets of Valaki battle map. Ooh. Even interiors and floors. Ooh, very nice. Oh, yeah, most of them are muddy. Wait, this Streets of Valaki. Looks really good. And I will be adding these to my repertoire the next time I run this. Period. Very well done. Very, very well done. All right. Okay, so they kind of changed something here. Interesting. Ah, this is the post that led to the other post here. Got it. Now I'm just catching up. Oh boy. Wow, this is only two paragraphs. Yeah, this got absolutely ripped apart. I'm gonna go ahead and say it right now. Uh, geez. Starting fresh 2020, the Academy never instantly kill or stun a player longer than one round. It's not fun for anyone. Offering advice. I've never met a player at the end of combat. Man, being stunned for the whole combat really interesting. Or I'm glad that I got power word killed at the start of combat so I could spectate the next 30 minutes of the session. Even if players don't mind it, I promise they weren't having fun and doing literally anything else would have been more interesting to them that session. Yeah, I don't think I want to touch this one after the one I basically touched before. Oh, believe me, as a DM who is a monk player whose number one move is Stunning Strike on any BBEG or any boss, I'm aware of the lack of fun. Okay, people arguing about monk. Uh, more legendary resistances. Wow, still monk stuff. Legendary heart. Yeah, typical Reddit stuff. Sheesh. Okay, we're still on monks. Going to do disagree with this. Never is a big word. This deals loots pretty much. Telegraphed. Two. Um, geez, do I want to post here or what do I even say? Um, kill or stun a player longer than one round. It's not fun for any. One hand, it may not be the most fun. On the other hand, it's not too challenging. Depends on why the players play. delve into this. Already committed. Pull up. Say a Sith deals in absolutes. The linchpin of this argument is entire. Okay, starting over. The linchpin of this argument is entirely dependent on why the individual plays Dungeons and Dragons to begin with. Period. Most people play Dungeons and Dragons wanting adventure and creativity and collaboration with other like-minded individuals to go on an adventure. An imaginary one, but an adventure nevertheless. Period. In all adventures, there are highs and lows. Most things aren't just going to be monochrome, safe, not a lot of risk. Period. If you or anybody wants to play that way, by all means, they have all the gumption in the world to choose to do so. Period. Others may disagree with that playstyle, but it's not inherently wrong. Period. They need to find a group and a dungeon master willing to play what is essentially a lower stakes game. Period. Some players like having their combat be littered with the traditional sense of death and also with traditional mechanics, which oftentimes are save or suck. Period. This is just how the game by default is meant to operate. And although some spells and spell effects are not fun to be on the receiving end of, period. For most people, it's about the whole experience, not the individual parts, which are going to be bad, or worse, great, or good. Period. Alright, that was a bit jumbled toward the end. The linchpin of the argument entirely dependent upon why the individual played Dungeons and Dragons to begin with. Most people play Dungeons and Dragons watching adventure and creativity and collaboration with other like-minded. Most play Dungeons and Dragons for adventure, creativity, and collaboration with other like-minded individuals. That part out. In all adventures, all adventure. There are highs, lows. All adventures, there are highs and lows. Most things aren't just going to be monochrome, safe. Not a lot of risk. If you or anybody wants to play that way, by all means, they have all the gumption in the world to choose to do so. Others may disagree with that playstyle, but it's not inherently wrong. You need to find a group and the Dungeon Master, not Gym Master, though Gym Master sounds funny, willing to play what is essentially a lower stakes game. Some players like having their combat be littered with a traditional sense of death and also traditional mechanics, which often times are unfun, to be on the king of. Put it in the dictionary. Now, the game by default is meant to operate, and also some spells and spell effects meant to operate. Okay. For most people, it's about the whole experience, not the individual parts, which are going to be bad to worse, great, or good. This advice is overarching and the players and the dungeon master need to come to an understanding on the style of play and agree to that style. Period. If you are not an individual that likes these mechanics within the game, your best bet is to go and find other like-minded individuals or an entire RPG altogether without these mechanics. Period. You are not an individual that likes these mechanics in the game. Best bet is to go and find other like-minded individuals or an entire RPG altogether without these mechanics. Okay. No upvote on that one. That's for sure. Easy access cantrips can change your world shipping and food storage. Okay, I'll fight on this one. Seems interesting. Alright, Tony d&dhelpdesk. Easy access cantrips can change world shipping and food storage. Boring background stuff, but I love this sort of thing. Cantrips can be used to change the entire world, make some nice flavor. Shape water, get some wizards on the back of a boat and propel it forward like Gus on the sails. Shape water can freeze 5 feet cube of water for an hour. So like we just invented cheap refrigeration and shipping storage foodstuffs. Probably warehouses filled with fish and meats. Merchants might hire an apprentice to freeze water while carting foodstuffs from one city to another. Well, Earth, everyone would have a root cellar. It makes popping up a palisade wall so easy. There'd be Mott and Bailey castles just about everywhere. And it'd be dead easy to pop up fortifications in times of war. So useful, any decent sized city would likely have training programs for apprentice wizards just for cantrips. It also makes the magic initiate feat plausible. Creates a class of blue collar apprentice wizards. Neat flavor for a city like Robert went to trade school and got himself a good job freezing water in a warehouse. Hey, his good work is easy, at least not shoveling manure like other peasants, etc., etc. And smiley face. Okay, I like this. This is pretty good. This was Patrick Rothfuss series has one of the specific types of magic involved moving heat around. Warmar here, porous, the main professions involve accompanying carts to fish to market. Keep the fish refrigerator, force of will. Refrigerator completely revolutionizes how we eat, structure markets, even magic in your setting can have a huge impact on things. Have thought about the ways magic could be used in your economy, you might want to keep it rare, come up with some reason why it's ubiquitous. Tired doing laundry, just send it to the local prestidigitation expert, industrial washing unit. True. The Eberron setting is mentioned here. It's good. Yeah. So, the access cantrip can change your world shipping and food storage. All great ideas of implementations of some of the basic cantrips. I like these. Ultimately, it comes down to you as a dungeon master and what you think the technological and even magical advancements of the society is, and how that juxtapositions against the overall magical level of the setting and world. Down to you as a dungeon master and what you think technological and even advanced society is, the juxtapositions and world. And magical advancement society is and how it juxtapositions against the overall magic level of the setting and world. Cool. I like it. Stuff. Very creative. All right, let's get off best. Let's go to hot. Okay, it seems like top. All right. Getting a lot happen. Suggestions, maps, feeling sore ill after a night GMing. See here, as a game masters, feeling sore ill after a night GMing. I hunger. For over a year now, thanks to the Rona, I have a weekly D&D session running as DM on every Wednesday evening, going around 3 to 4 hours. I also play another group once a weekend, going maybe 4 to 6 hours. Especially after the session, I DM my throat. My throat and chest area feel sore, like having a cough or something like that. I think I drink well enough and not alcoholic beverages through the sessions, but regardless of what I'm doing, I feel sore, ill the day after. I don't let my sessions at all. Sometimes I change voices, but rarely. Any advice? I am not a doctor. Could just be, I don't know. Could just be talking a lot. You're not used to it. I don't know how long this has been going on. This for a year now. And how long is this? Are these in-person online games? Online? Probably speaking louder than you normally do. How about raising your voice? Okay. Speaking higher could help. Else. Ram. Um. Uh. Okay. So, throat and chest area. Your chest should be feeling sore. Um. I am not a doctor, but you've been checked out by one. Period. Assuming it is nothing, there are no physical ailments or disease, I would recommend the following. Period. Firstly, looking up voice warm-up exercises may help reduce the strain on your voice. Period. Potentially changing your mic settings, specifically the gain or the input volume that you have to speak, noise gate, may allow you to speak quieter and get the same results. Period. Not overexerting yourself and getting a good night's rest would be another. Period. Hope you feel better. Period. Not a doctor, but have you been checked out by one? Assuming it is nothing. Assuming it is no physical ailments or disease, I would recommend the following. Firstly, looking up voice warm-up exercises may help restore your voice. Eventually changing your mic settings, specifically the gain, the input volume they have to speak, or the noise gate. We'll just do the gain or the noise gate. So that you speak quieter and get the same results. Not overexerting yourself and getting a night's rest would be another. Hope you feel better. Hope you feel better. And this gets resolved. For that one. They get some help that they need. So your voice definitely is a bit overexerted, but that seems symptomatic of something else. I don't know. Don't know what. There's not enough information here. Illegal carnival scam. Little razzle dazzle game. Player throws a number of marbles onto a grid of holes, and the numbers of those holes award points, which are suggested to be converted into prizes. In reality, it's almost impossible for a player to win enough points for the prize. Ah. Gotcha. So they just give you enough that it would have to be like really weird rolling in order to. Okay, interesting. Learned something today. See what they got. They actually have the Harder to see at first glance, the game is actually so unfair that approach is impossible. It will take them an average of 3 rounds to get points played fairly. However, because the entry fee doubles on about 8% of the rolls, the cost to keep chasing the points prize pool they've already accumulated grows exponentially as they begin to grapple with this fallacy. That's pretty cute. I like it. Go to that one. Let's see here. Village of Ricemen. Balanced. Um. Okay, so they made. Alright. Wolf encounters. Stride. The inspiration for alternate racial appearances. Designing an entire new. Where we go with this one? One's posted. Cursory Margaster. Ask Game Masters. The inspiration for alternate racial appearances. I'm designing a new setting, and part of the history of the world is that humans, our race, showed up recently, and they just kind of appeared. They didn't evolve from any other race. The outcome of this is that the other races can't look very much like humans. You know what I mean. Dwarves are basically just short, strong humans with lots of facial hair. Elves are beautiful, graceful, thin, agile humans. And giants are super tall and strong humans. Since some of them are related to humans in my setting, they also have a different look, while still feeling like that race. I have a few ideas down already, like how elves and gnomes have fake connections, and therefore take on animalistic or even plant-like properties. Okay. The giants take on more of a demonic, spiritual look, like Oni. I'm not really sure what to do about dwarves or halflings or various other human creatures. What do you guys think? I think this is a lot of work. First, I think this is a lot of work of trying to make every race so different than default humanoid and human divergent. Period. Of course, the much easier thing to do is to just flavor the races to be culturally different, not physiologically different. Period. But if you're still adamant on trying to get your list compiled, I will add this. Period. Uh, Um, okay, what's something we could do with all the races? So elves and gnomes are fey and are animalistic or even plantish. Giants are more Oni-like. Dwarves and halflings. Maybe dwarves are literal like gem people. What about halfling? What would halflings be? Um, oh, dwarves are gem people. Dwarves in this setting could just be gem people. Period. Maybe they are birthed from gems, uh, metamorphizing under extreme pressure over time. Period. It would beg the interesting question of how they feel about mining for gems. Period. I think that seems like a fun twist to think about. Period. On preliminary thought, I'm not too sure how to settle this issue. Period. Okay. Doors. Doors. Huh. Borders. The setting could just be gym. People. Maybe they are first from Earth, from meta, or physing under extreme pressure over time. It would beg the interesting question of how they feel about mining for gems. I think that seems like a fun twist to think about. Summary thought. I'm not sure how to say you. All right, I think that seems pretty good. A lot of work though. But it's more work than I would be willing to put in to completely change all the species that exist in the ones that would be in your setting. That's a lot of work. Idle barge get the mind sliver cantrip. Just more, I don't know, wizardy. Barge already get a lot of other spells, and this would be like wizardy, I guess. But yeah, the I can see the thought here. Oop, study that. Um. Hey, yes, we're backing out of that one. Let's do. It's already 7:03. Let's do new. What we got here? I love the create bonfire cantrip. I think like a dinosaur. D&D next adventure. Such a useful cantrip. Great for blocking choke points. Nice to have on hand for dealing with baddies who don't like fire. Area of effect damage is nice, but doesn't hurt half the members of the party. Outdoor campaigns great for distractions. Just wander over on the flank, lighting up the force as you go. Nautical combat. Cast at the base of enemy mast. Up in the rigging. It's only a cantrip. Does that allow for targeting of objects? Let's see. Alright, conjuration cantrip. You can pop out. Alright, here's what we got. 60 feet in action. You create a bonfire on ground that you can see within range. Until the spell ends, the magic bonfire fills a 5-foot cube. Any creature in the bonfire space when you cast the spell must see on a dexterity saving throw, take 1d8 fire damage. The creature must also make the saving throw. When it moves the bonfire space the first time on a turn or its turn there, it ignites flammable objects in this area that aren't being worn or carried. Right? Oh, so I mean, it doesn't have as much AoE as say. Area of effect damage is nice. I mean, I suppose it's still a 5-foot area, but it's not like AoE in the traditional sense. Cast it at the base of enemy mast. Actually, kind of work. It's concentration though. Cantrip, you do have to keep concentrating on for it to there. I hadn't really thought about all the ways that you can use this spell, considering it targets a ground at a point you can see within range. Period. Like you mentioned, there are some pretty neat things you can do. Period. I think what really kills the spell from becoming popular is that it requires concentration. Period. Alrighty. Cool. I hadn't thought about that too much. Alright, let's see what we got. Old Bone Grinder. I might be this one. Curse of Strahd by Bearish Parrot. What motivations do the players have for actually exploring Old Bone Grinder? Help request. Recently reading through the Old Bone Grinder encounter again and realized players don't really have any motivation to stop and explore it. What motivation do you offer your players to get them to walk windmill? Backgrounds, players got Barovia with Irina, excited to their pool. The answers with Masani, then we'll skip right through the entire village, interaction with Bismarck. I'm worried they'll just skip the Old Bone Grinder in favor of booking directly to Valaki to get Irina somewhere safe. Oh, I mean, they can totally do that, it's fine. Andy Mod, mentioned a few times now. Out Curse of Strahd. Has to be a big thing. Yeah, it's pretty big. Not gonna read all that. The 3 shrines, the Fanes, okay. Rogue has been visions of the Raven, 3 voices calling out to them. Since the Fandelver campaign. Okay, so Fandelver and Strahd. Curse of Lycanthropy. The Rogue Warlock have eaten the Dream Pies, but you get to make their con saving throws for addiction. We let them help make them more enticing instead of just hitting them with a there's an old windmill down this path and a raven is screeching at you when you get closer, thanks in advance. Also, the windmill is over like 15 miles from the village of Barovia. Morgantha really walks 30 miles a day to deliver these pies. Let's see. Granny. Foreshadowing. Pies were made. Um. So, quote that. Make a note here. Mark down. Quoting. Okay. So, uh, let's see. Don't worry about this. If they want to skip it, they most certainly can. Strahd is written as more of a sandbox style game. There'll be plenty of reasons to come back for it later, or that would get them interested. Like example. And Strahd is written as more of a sandbox style game. And there can be plenty of reasons to come back for it later, or that would get them interested. Like example. I have to brainstorm. What do we want to do? Code. Heading, bullet list, quote block. Wait, can I just do this for quote block? Is that simple? Just do that. I'll see how it looks. I'm curious actually. Do I have to go back to like regular stuff? Oh, I think that's how I do it. Like example. What are some good examples of? I'm going build bone grinder. I'll use here. More of the um even I lost what are they called? The Raven lycanthropes go missing. Maybe even the sons of the proprietor of the inn within Valaki. Period. What are they called in Curse Strahd again? I'm drawing a blank here. Raven, Lycan, Ropes, Strahd. Oh, the Silk Were Ravens. Enough. More of the Were Ravens go missing. And the sons of the proprietor of the inn. Then Valaki. Two. What's another one? Oh. The once reclusive people of the village of Barovia began to become manic in the streets in almost a euphoric, opium like state induced by the pies. Period. This may creep the players out, and I would definitely lean to that direction. Period. What else do we have? Uh, ooh. Word spreads around Barovia that Granny is concocting a super pie. Period. Maybe this super pie becomes a super pie monster that instead eats people. Period. What else do we have? Um, Maybe Granny starts baking pies that have explosive properties, like bomb pies. Bomb pies. A totally original idea. What's the last one we could think of real fast? Bomb pies, a pie that eats people. Um, People start going crazy, like they're on drugs. Ravens go missing. What else do we have to help with this one? What would be a good one? Maybe the twig blights. Maybe. Ooh, maybe she starts making blood pies for Strahd. Maybe she starts making specialty blood pies for Strahd and his vampire brides. Period. This imparts some boon or powers to them. Period. All right, I think that's pretty good. We give him 5 ideas there. All OC. No cap. All right, hope that helps him out. Continue onward. I am a huge fan of summoning. Uh-oh. Oh, someone's already done kind of the work here. As far as all the spells, find familiar, great homunculus, homunculus servant, field defender, ranged companion, find steed, find greater steed, then Tasha summon aberrations, shadow spawn, undead construct, conjure minor elementals, conjure woodland being, and conjure animals. I think that's pretty much the succinct list right there. I would say for your DM sanity, please warn them ahead of time. Period. I am a fan of summoning in games like Skyrim, Diablo, and others. Period. But I can say as a DM that having summon units heavily slows down combat, especially if the dungeon master is not prepared. Okay. Skyrim, Diablo, others. I could say at the DM that having some in units, or maybe summon units, really slows down combat. Especially if Dungeon Master is not prepared. Master is not prepared with stat blocks or minis. Stat blocks, minis, or tokens. Alrighty, here we go, another one down. Cool. To get luck with that, we were 1 follower away from the funny number. We're gonna keep moving on. He cursing a weapon. Sure, what about here? Knight Tarkus and DM Academy. He cursing a weapon. Oh. Hey. Brain turnout. For the funny number. Well done to you, sir or madam. Good stuff. I appreciate it. Welcome to D&D Help Desk. Just answering some questions here on Reddit. DM Academy. So, decursing a weapon by Knight Tarkus. Need advice. So, one of my players has had a cursed axe for a while now, but has recently turned it into a local enchanter who will remove the curse whilst trying to preserve what he can of the positive aspects. The player has paid around 400 gold piece for the service. He is currently level 5 rogue, and here is the cursed item description. The weapon takes the form most suited to whoever wields it, whilst it forms remains constant. You have a +1 bonus to attack and damage rolls made with a magic weapon. Additionally, a roll of 19 or 20 will cause a critical hit. Additionally, scoring a critical hit using Eviscerate grants the wielder advantage on their next attack with the weapon until the end of their next turn. Okay, sounds awesome. Now for the fun part, Cursed. Enemies can also score crits on a roll of 19 or 20, so they have King +1 on enemies. Additionally, when the bear misses an attack while attune this weapon, their head is filled with maniacal demonic laughter. Bear must make a DC 13 Wisdom saving throw or suffer 1d4 psychic damage and suffer disadvantage on all their next attack rolls until the end of their next turn. The axe cannot be unequipped willingly by the bearer. Ooh, oof. The problem with that is, from a mechanical standpoint, if you fail your wisdom save, it is starting to do a spiral. Because you get constant disadvantage, which is going to cause you to miss, which cause you to make a saving throw. Fail again. I mean, that's just a lot of psychic damage, which you're not going to be able to naturally resist if you're a barbarian or anything like that, unless you are a bear totem. Level 5 is kind of early for a cursed weapon of that type. Yeah, that's like even then you don't have that high proficiency bonus to even hit. So you're probably fighting maybe goblins, maybe undead, but anything with any kind of AC, this is kind of almost death spiral. I mean, it depends on the character's class. You know, if they're only a martial kind of damage dealer, you don't have many options other than to hit things with a sword. I mean, at least if you're a barbarian, you can give yourself advantage with reckless. But if you're just like a standard fighter and you don't have like a bonus to hit, sounds a bit rough. I was hoping one of you lovely people would be able to help me determine what enchantments I should keep altered so the axe is still usable. He has grown fairly attached to it, but he also needs to represent the fact that the lack of curse is going to impact quite how powerful it is. I mean, you're letting the curse go away, so that's the important part. Because yeah, that curse is pretty nasty. I mean, it's a +1, and it has Keen 1, and it gives you advantage on next attack. So there's 3 positive things it has. I guess 4, technically it's magical, so therefore it can hit magic resistant stuff. Then the negative effects is they get Keen. If you miss, you can suffer damage and have disadvantage. 4 positive things, really 2 negative things. That 1 negative thing is really bad. I suppose because the Eviscerate is the advantage, you could also get rid of the disadvantage stuff. So it would just be +1 Keen and magical. And that the whole Eviscerate effect just disappears. That's kind of in the same vein. I suggest to drop the magical and the 19 crit. Oh, you could unenchant it as a magical item. You could do that. I feel like most players though, they want their items to be magical for like the resistance stuff. Although that is definitely an option. You can make it mundane and just have Keen on it. Maybe that could just be an option. Would you like, Keen plus mundane, or would you like the magical stuff but there's a detriment? Not a bad idea. The curse has not been removed, it's been attuned, so now when he misses, his mind is filled with laughter, he lets out in combat with mad grin. Target has to make it. Okay, so it's been attuned to be a buff as far as kind of traded to the enemy. I'm gonna go ahead and save for this one. Currently speaking, there are 4 positive buffs and 4 debuffs for this item. Okay. I'll go ahead and say the 4 positive effects is that it's magical, +1 weapon, has keen, and has eviscerate. Period. The 2 negative debuffs are enemies have keen 1 against you, and this eviscerate I'll say it's I'll say it's anti-eviscerate. Anti-eviscerate say disadvantage spiral on miss. 4 positive and 2 debuffs. E4 positive effects magical, +1 weapon, has keen, and has eviscerate. D2, wow. Okay, thank you. The 2 negative debuffs are enemies. Buffs are enemies have keen 1 against you, and this anti miss. Perhaps again. Perhaps. Come on, Windows 10, what you doing? Perhaps. Okay, we seem to be glitched here. I am selecting a text field. Perhaps. Okay. Still a text field. Let's try this again. Perhaps one of 2 things can happen. Period. The first thing that can happen is the enchanter disenchants the item's magical properties, making it a mundane item with keen 1, or even still a mundane +1 item. Bit old school there. The other idea is to make it so that the eviscerate property and the curse are removed, and it is just a magical +1 item with keen. If you're using TTS, wow. Yes, I'm using TTS. It works a lot better. For some reason, it wasn't recognizing this as a text box. I have no idea why. Currently speaking, not perfect. I still need to refine this, but it's a lot better than having to type everything out. I can at least keep my train of thought. 4 positive, 2 negative debuffs. We got all that. Perhaps 1 of 2 things can happen. First thing can happen is the inch answer distant chance. That the disenchanter removes. Wow, this is a minefield. Disenchanter, just make it 1 word. It's fine. Magical properties, making it a Monday night AM. A mundane. Mundane weapon with keen 1. Kind of an old school term there. Means crit a 19 or 20. Or even still a mundane. Yeah, totally. Monday night AM. Totally a thing. A mundane +1 item. The other idea is to make it so that the official rate property. Okay, I don't blame on that one. The eviscerate property and curse are removed. This is a magical +1 item with team. Yeah, I think it's pretty good. The other person did a flavor idea. Maybe they can combine all three. But that's what I would go with. Decursing a weapon. Fun stuff. I want to play a healing wizard. How can I do that? How would you play a cleric? Wear a wizard hat. I mean, I guess necromancy. You could do simile of life. That's not really. That's temporary hit points. I don't know about that one. I know I could just pick bard with the College of Lore, but I still want to play wizard. More on a supportive side. Okay. You don't get any innate healing or buffs. You also take magic initiate and just get cleric healing. Like cure wounds for something else. Yeah, I can do besides multi-classing or praying to RNG for a spell scroll. Support isn't just healing. Summons, soak damage, burn attacks, mark a healing. Play a cleric, call yourself a wizard. Kind of said what I think magic initiate and then just wear a wizard hat. Being a cleric is probably my go-to answer. I would say if you want your supporting to be solely focused on healing, I have a couple of recommendations. Period. Perhaps you just play a cleric that wears a pointy wizard hat. You call yourself and identify as a wizard. Period. If not that, then perhaps you get the magic initiate feat and take healing spells from the cleric spell list. Period. Yes, reject cleric, return to monkey. I agree. That wears WARE AR. Wrong wears. Wizards, not that. Perhaps you get the magic initiate feat. A. Not E. Spell list. What else could you do? And you also have the healer feat. Maybe the healer feat. AoE spells like slow. What other ones are pretty good? Haste, etc. would work. Those are kind of high level spells, but it's something to build to. But that's my recommendation. All right, half hour left. Musical healing class. That sounds like a clerical bard with extra steps. But yeah, that seems like an interesting class. It'd be like the soothsayer, like soothing wounds. Oh boy, DM Burnout. Boy, DM Academy, Yellow Sound. Not too long. Play a corona-proof game with just 2 other players. My boyfriend and one of my best friends. My boyfriend has just started playing D&D a year ago, so I give him a lot of leeway, but I just can't deal with it anymore. 1. Every time. Isn't often. Alright, so the first part is you're playing with people you care about, which is good, but also easily to step on toes and not feel comfortable in kind of adjudicating rules as a DM, not wanting to hurt their personal feelings. So boyfriend and your best friend, so 2 people you don't want to disappoint, 2 people that opinions matter a lot to you more than likely, those sort of a thing. Every time and isn't often, thrice in 15 sessions, 5 sessions. When an NPC doesn't believe his character, doubts him, is uncertain, he says they're stupid, insane, and starts a 15-minute discussion. When I, as a DM, had a character try to explain the thought process of my NPC, when they respond that way, he dives into deeper on the topic, saying that it is me who's a problem because I'm playing them that way. Well, first, I mean, I would like to think I have a hard time believing this person exists, but I know the answer is that they do. I mean, you're completely metagaming with that opinion. You don't walk up to a normal person in real life and think, wow, it's the DM is why they're mean to me. They don't like me. It's no, you're dealing with a real person here treated as such. They don't like you for whatever reason. It kind of sounds like you're not too great of a person. I don't know if that's just your life, throwing off a bit of your own personal failings or responsibility onto the DM, or if it's just you're playing your character that way too. I don't know. So basically, my NPCs need 100% be pro the player, or they suck, and the fun is all over due to a 15-minute discussion where he almost starts to shout. Wow, 15 minutes of shouting over an NPC not liking you. I mean, I feel like letting that continue as a DM is almost as bad as the person shouting for 15 minutes. Goodness, what does this person do when they fail a dialogue tree in like Mass Effect or something? Do they just lose their mind? Break their controller? I have no idea. Okay, so that's a big old red flag all up and in here. It seems that he never listens to what I say. I do have auto mod. I don't have mods. I will allow it. There you go. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. I think both of those are very apt and pretty spot on. Never listens to what I have to say. Every time when I tell my group something, he twists it afterwards. So he's backseat DMing on top of that. I DM multiple groups and did Adventure League and never had this problem before, but I try to work on it because it could also be my fault. In order to lessen this, I try to help him by giving him a lot of story help. You mean person X dot person Y, or they said this instead of that to make the RP smoother, otherwise NPCs will maybe understand when we get back to situation point 1. I feel the joy for the game being sucked out of me when we're playing. Wait, is this... Wait, my boyfriend... This is your boyfriend? Your boyfriend sounds really abusive. Not gonna lie. I feel the joy of the game being sucked out from me when we're playing. I feel like I'm not articulate enough to try to work on. Everyone has weaknesses. I feel like I'm not lenient enough. I feel like we are having a fun moment. Due to this, I don't want to DM anymore. My boyfriend is very stubborn, so trying to communicate on this issue is very difficult. Apparently, I think I'm going to take a break for a few weeks and at least try to do another session again. But I just know that I'll be afraid to ever roleplay a more negative NPC toward the players ever again. The way the players reacts. I'm sorry, rant over. That's what I'm thinking too. Brain. Oh, this is a whole cornucopia of big red flags, not only just in the game sense, but like actual relationships. My goodness. They respond with more information. Yeah, I indeed think this might be the problem. Poor fit for your table. I think it's a poor fit for their life, and honest. Um, be a DM. Okay. And also, it's also his first experience with D&D. Probably be his only experience because a lot of DMs are going to kick him out pretty promptly in that sort of behavior. I certainly wouldn't stand for it. That's just straight up disrespectful. I just feel like the utter crap at the moment. Thank you for your response. The SO can be stubborn as heck. We'll give it one last try. There's stubborn, there's being rude. Yeah, you seem like, is it just me or just like seem utterly rife with like domestic abuse in it? I don't know. I feel like if someone's yelling at you for 15 minutes over such a minute detail, they're a really deeply troubled person, and I feel like you're either not in a position to feel comfortable to say something out of fear of being hit or maybe fear of just being retaliated against. Just I can't imagine your significant other treating you that way. That's get a new boyfriend. He sounds nice. Kappa. Seems a little bit more than just an in-game issue. He might see it as a video game instead of RPG. Yes, like we've mentioned. Have you ever played any RPG like Mass Effect or even like Witcher, where like some players or NPCs just don't like you and you have to deal with it? Isn't the role playing, but just I feel like he isn't role playing, but just him playing. And this scares living with Jesus out of me. Example: PC goes with the mummy to an NPC's house. NPC is scared of the mummy and asks to send it away. He thinks this is unreasonable. I then try as the DM to explain the NPC doesn't know this one particular mummy is good. Show her to evil mummies. After 10 sessions, she's still a stupid useless NPC in my boyfriend's eyes. I'm scared that it's him who thinks like that instead of his character based out of the game. Ooh. Your relationship advice? Read this, be honest. No D&D. Okay. Well, I know what we're working on for the last of it. He's abusive. There are more red flags here than a communist parade. Oh, true. I was thinking more. Oh, that. I was thinking more like a Chinese military parade than communist parade, but we're on the same page. Um, honestly, I feel like I don't know. I feel like I'm gonna post this here, and then I'm gonna just go ask for other people who are maybe more inclined with domestic abuse. I mean, I don't know the identity or gender of this person. It says boyfriend. It could be gay. Um, I assume that more than likely it's probably a woman in this situation. If I had to guess, there either way, despite the biological sex and gender identity and all that, this just doesn't sit right with me. I don't know. Maybe somebody with more expertise in this kind of field would be able to explain or maybe understand better, maybe even just get the help. I don't know. Yeah, this is more relationship related too. I feel like this is kind of masking a lot of issues. Not to go in on drama and relationship advice, but this is a whole nother can of worms. Um, Geesh, how do I even start this? I mean, there's the whole mechanical issues, but I don't even think I should even talk about the mechanics issue because it would just lessen the rest of the points I feel like I'm trying to make here. The soul sucked out of me. That's just very unnerving how that's said. I don't know. Uh, yeah, I think anybody behaving like that is just absolutely inexcusable in any capacity, especially over a game where you're supposed to have fun. To be a way to straighten your relationship, not just beat the person down for their failures or things you don't like. Ah, jeez. Um. So what do I say? Well, the issues with the game here and with your boyfriend seem to extend further beyond the confines of the game of D&D. Period. Simply put, any player should respect your authority, also known as Rule 0, and your adjudication of the rules. Period. I say this from personal experience. Do not let anybody at your table disrespect you or your players. Period. You are in a difficult situation based upon your personal relationships with the group. Period. I do not feel like these issues can be resolved in game or even out of game without major behavioral change. Period. Um, Visit the issues with the game here and with your boyfriend. Say the issues with the game here with your boyfriend seem to extend further beyond the confines of the game of D&D. Simply put, any player should respect your authority, also known as Rule 0, in your adjudication of the rules. I say this from personal experience. Do not let anybody at your table disrespect you or your players. You are in a difficult situation based on on your personal relationships with the group. Do not feel that these issues can be resolved in game or even out of game without major behavioral change on your part. Um, the severity of your boyfriend's actions and your language has me concerned. Period. This is my speculation, of course, but I do see language and I do see potential abuse going on here, whether you realize it or not. Period. Let's say, and your language has terms, of course, but I do see language, I do see potential abuse going. Realize it. I'll say this speculation, of course, but I feel that your boyfriend is being more abusive than stubborn. If this is the case, then the resources below may help you want to reach out to personally. Okay. Yeah, I think it's pretty much on point. Huh. Yeah, I think I'm good with that. I don't know, this just seems like, I mean, 15 minutes of yelling. I just cannot. Oh, it's a 15-minute discussion, but he almost starts to shout. I don't know. Just only happened 3 times, but even then, I've never happened like once out of 6 years of DMing have someone literally shout across the table at me or shout to me and have a 15-minute discussion on it. I don't know. That's concerning. I think that's probably my last one. I might do a follow-up to this and stuff in a bit. Thank you, Bray Turnouts, for coming with us. You can find my socials right here. By all means, you can join the Discord if you feel inclined to do so. I appreciate your inputs when it comes to the magical item. That was very useful. With that, I think we'll go ahead and do a raid. We're gonna raid today. We got up here. Raid some. Let's see. Who's streaming Dungeons and Dragons? Got Spanish here. Someone a bit smaller. Two. Groups I thought we did. Very nice. We'll go ahead and yes. Sounds good to me. All right, everybody, don't forget your raid kit. We'll go ahead and raid, and I will see you guys tomorrow.